Hello, everyone. Welcome to Extra Time presented by N90 Minutes. Joining me, as always, is Luke, and then special tonight is David Valentin from our main show. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
So, obviously, if you watch the main show, we touched on the disconnect between the front office and supporters, season ticket members, fans, all the above. So we're gonna touch on that tonight, as well as dive a little bit deeper into the tactics and the exactly what the issue was with what we feel the issue was with the friendly on Saturday. So this is something all three of us are very passionate about. The you know basically the appreciation the front office has for season ticket members, supporters, and just fans in general. But I'll let David go first, and then we'll feed off of his energy.
Sure. Quick question. Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it's a first for me, people. Relax. Well, if you guys listen to the main show, I said my piece when it comes to this subject. I think it is more of an intimate setting. And I'll repeat it again. I think if you want to know the background of this conversation, go ahead and listen to the main show. Obviously, this comes 2 days after the main show is posted. um, on Facebook, there were several people that have been season ticket holders for a while, a lot of fans that, unlike me, people that have the respect of others, and they were saying, hey, this is my last season. I was surprised to see many good friends over the years, many listeners of the show that refuse to renew their season tickets. And I understand it's easy for me to say, "Oh, I want to keep going," because for me, it's a 10-15 minute drive. I live near downtown, but for those folks that are driving an hour, 2 hours away to go to the stadium only to see losses, then it's a moment of recalibrating. Should I just stay home and watch it from my house and save the money and the aggravation? Um, I believe that when Jared Dillon came into the club, he did the right thing by having the focus groups. A lot of good came out of that. I wish that we had them this past year or this off season. That way, the club could see how far we've gone, and for Jared to listen to the fan base more as a seasoned member of the front office rather than a hockey guy that just came to town, and was more of an open book because he had no experience in our sport or culture. The main thing that I always complain to the club is the need for a supporter liaison officer, an SLO. And I'm glad that Luke is here. Wish that he would have been with them in the main show because Luke knows what I'm talking about. In English football, an SLO primarily is a coordinator for the away fans. Contrary to what popular belief is, the football clubs in England make every attempt to make the away fan feel comfortable. The away fan is driving across country. It's away from the safety net of their family and familiar ground, and they're making an effort to go see their team. Um, and so the SLO is there to facilitate, to make sure that they get there safe and they return home safe. And also, it's the person that is there to play judge and jury when it comes to different groups within the fan base arguing about something. It's a position of a lot of privilege, and I feel that Orlando City could definitely benefit by having an SLO. As of right now, we have two supporter groups. Our charter as a club is that the supporters Iron Lion firm and Ruckus have priority over everything else. A little bit of history for those of you that missed out on the glory days of the USL. ILF is basically the 407 firm and the Iron Lion who merge two two groups that splinter away from the Rockets right before the 2011 season. And the rules are basically as follows. If you want to start your own supporter group, you need the approval of the two supporter groups. You need 500 season ticket members, and you need the approval of the club. I have argued that we don't know if the existing supporter groups do meet the criteria because nobody has audited them. The other thing is that many attempts that have happened of people that do not feel welcome in either one of them or have a different vision when they try to splinter and create a group, they are treated in a way where they snuff that dynamic out. And a lot of the season ticket members feel, and we read a post by one of those members um, from Facebook, that the club tends to go towards the supporter groups and be like, this is the mouthpiece of the fan base, which is, in my opinion, incorrect because supporter groups owe themselves to their fan base and to their interest. Therefore, if you have individuals that are on the West Club in the suites, people that are paying thousands of dollars per game, telling you, I don't feel represented, I don't feel like my voice is heard, perhaps an SLO will bridge that gap. Also, one of the main complaints is that the season ticket member reps, you get a mixed bag. Some people are very good at what they do. Mine personally, Paulo Nogueira, shout out to the guy. Has been fantastic. Has been great listener. But not everybody has been blessed with a professional like him, and people are walking away based on the interaction they have with their rep. And I finish with this. Um, I know that I'm a controversial figure within the fan base. I think I have done a very poor job at how I have dealt with adversity and criticism, because I come from a culture where, you get respect when you give respect. And, I have said it many times, where I'm from is the type of place that is also always mentioned on reggaeton songs. It's always a violent place. It's a place of like, you look at me the wrong way, I'm gonna clock you. And I feel that I unjustifiably have been targeted by members of the supporter groups and by their leadership. Full disclosure, I joined the ALF thinking, because every time I criticized them, I was told, "Oh, well, you got to join the supporter group, and then you get to be behind, see behind the curtain." I did that. I lasted 6 weeks. uh, Everybody knows a person attacked me, said that we were doing things that we were not supposed to, and I made some expressions that the president of the ILF took it upon himself to unilaterally kick me out. Not gonna say anything else. But right now, you got two groups fighting with each other. There's no unity among the supporter groups. There's a disconnect between the supporter groups and the fan base at large. And at the end of the day, listen, I don't need to belong to any group personally. I'm a veteran. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Jewish. I mean, I fit within so many different boxes that I have my tribe. I have my niche. So I don't need to be part of a supporter group, um, for Orlando City to for my fandom and my support to be counted as something meaningful. Besides, I'm not the target audience. I'm gonna be 50 years old this year. I got three kids. I'm not the guy to be jumping on the terraces without a shirt exposing my scars from surgeries. So, so, so finally, to conclude my mini rant here, I think that the club needs to address this connect this crack within the armor that has shown up. Because if it doesn't, what's gonna happen is, well, it always happens. People will pick up the ball and go home, and the hard work performed by many, many, many people in years past will go to waste. And football clubs are nothing without the fans. The pandemic already showed us that without the fans, it's just 22 guys kicking a ball around. And in a country where football is just starting to get a foothold, finally, it's very critical that we show a united front, especially when the World Cup is going to bring new fans and new eyes in Orlando, for people saying, we have a team, let me go check them out. And the treatment of season ticket members leaves a lot to be desired. I know it's a business, we're customers, we're investors, and I think that for far too long we have been taken for granted. And there has been a point of contention where our people feel that they're just wasting money for an organization that doesn't care about them. So that's a way to start, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, real quick, David, you've been a member or you've been a supporter of the club since 2012,
11.
11. Okay, Luke,
Oh, 14, 13.
14. So, and I've been casually since 2013, 2012, and really got serious into it when we moved to MLS. So all of us have been here over 10 years. This isn't just something new. This is people
And
that
I'd
are
like to say this, right? David, I agree with nearly everything you're saying. I don't know what your experience is on the other side because I was on the other side of the wall. You were on one side and I was on the other side. This is from a personal experience that I normally don't go into this, and I'm not bashing one point or the other because now I'm 22 years old and I've lived a life already. Then I'd like to say when I go into the stadium with John, I walk into the stadium, and next thing I know, I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm like 90 years old when I step into this stadium because I've been in this stadium majority of my life, which not a lot of people can say. Like I've supported not this stadium, but supported this club the majority of my life. I supported this club when I was 10 years old, and now I'm 22. So when I look at the state of the supporters group, and I mean the state, I mean the structure and the way and what it's become, I look at it from a diplomatic point of view instead of I try not to bring my personal perspective into it because then then it gets messy. The supporter groups have always been ran very non-professionally and always have been a priority when it comes to every single decision that is made inside of that stadium. Period. Done. Full stop. In a club, in a football club, 99% of the times, this is not what I've witnessed in Orlando, but any other club, your season ticket holders are your people. You get full priority of everything. You get decisions in what you're saying. And David said the right thing. We need a supporters trust. I know you said it differently, but a supporters trust is what we need. When two groups, when I'm being told where I have to stand, how I support, when I support, and where I support, on top of being a season ticket holder, which should be enough, not paying on top of a $25 fee to be a part of a supporters group, quote unquote, that's where you muddy the waters and make people feel disincluded and make supported season ticket holders feel disvalued. Feel disvalued. When I say feel disvalued, I mean, well, why do they have more rights than I have just because they pay a $25 fee? What rights do they have? Because somebody could just buy a random $7 ticket, but they have a Rugged supporters section, but they can stand with more places than I can in the wall.
and mind you, that $25 doesn't go to the club; it goes to that.
It goes to the foundation. Now where that goes is up for debate. I've seen where it goes. People can ask the supporters group where that money goes. You know, ask them, because I'm not going to say it, because obviously, but ask where it goes, and you 9 times out of 10 it might go somewhere where you're not thinking it might. It is the fact that these people and this supporters group, if you look up the underlying documents, the bylaws of, I don't know if the Iron Lion, for again, I'm only speaking on the side of the ruckus because I've been in it, I've lived it, I've unfortunately been banned by them, because I was go through the ruckus's Instagram past 2020 to 2015. I was the poster boy. I was the next thing to. I was the kid who was on the capo stand. I look a lot different now. I know I'm a lot bigger. I was skinny back then. Um, but I was supposed to be the poster boy. I was posted on the Ruckus Instagram, like the Orlando City Instagram, on the capo stand when I was like 13, when that rule wasn't even existed. You know, look back, it's there. What these supporters groups have become and will become are not sustainable. They shouldn't be supported, and they're just, ask them simply, let me see your bylaws, and you will be gobsmacked. You will be shocked and you will be surprised what is in those documents.
And that's even if they let you see them.
And that's even if you let you see them. The only reason I saw them is because I asked to see them when I was in negotiation to appeal my ban. But when I saw them, I was shocked. I was 18 years old, getting on a meeting with 4 or 5 individuals, grown individuals who have jobs, who have lives, who have maybe kids, maybe not, getting bullied because I made a simple mistake, not even a mistake, but they made up something because I wanted to hang out with individuals that gave me a platform, that loved me, that kind of supported me in a way. Title or not, group or not, the way you handle stuff and the way that situation was handled changed me as an individual, because life's not fair, you know? In a life where you're supposed to have grown individuals and look up to them and be role models to them, they weren't there. What role models did I have when I was getting banned? I was getting bombarded saying I was a violent, wait, what was it? It was gang violence and threats, I think, was the correct and official
Yeah,
terminology was used
that's the terminology they used when they banned me.
when they banned me and John from the ruckus in 2022. That was the official line. And bullying and harassment was I used. I was 18
Before,
years old.
I thought yours, Luke, was mine was in 2023.
Mine was in 20. I think it was in 2023. Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, it was in 2023. My mistake. But when
And for those that don't know what he's talking about, the reason we kind of know the timeline or I know that, Luke and I know the timeline for those of you that weren't and aren't involved in the drama. Luke and I, are basically charter members at this point of Treasure Coast Collective. And basically the split happened, and Ruckus said anybody that's a member of Treasure Coast Collective, and it's in their bylaws, you can't be a part of another group anyway. But anybody that's a member of Treasure Coast Collective can't be a member of Ruckus. So, the 30 or so of us that are or were members of Treasure Coast Collective receive, indefinite bans from the Ruckus. Um, and in my opinion, Luke, you don't have to back me up on this, but in my opinion, it was because we made the entire ruckus, like I said, 20 to 30 of us made the entire ruckus. So supposedly 300, 400, 500 members look bad because of how passionate we were in the stands. A good story from even this past year was Luke brought one of his probably his best friend. I'll just put that. And he was saying about how a chant was a death march, and I said, yeah, it's a death march because this is the way the chant's supposed to go, and proceeded to go on for you know several lines of the chant until they finally scrapped it way quicker than they usually scrap it, and that's because one person was making all of them look bad. And and there were other things in it that I'm not going to get into that allegedly happened or allegedly didn't happen um, with our group, but that's the preface of it of
And
why
to
this.
elaborate, John, on something that you brought up and Luke brought up, um, at least this was my experience when the reason why I picked the ILF over the Rockets was, and I had this conversation with the current president, who I have to say has been always very nice to me, very respectful. Where I said there's a segment of your membership that openly exhibits anti-Semitic um, attitudes towards me, or members of my faith, and I just didn't feel that I was going to be comfortable there. While the ILF were no friends of mine, I said, well, this is the lesser of the two evils, and I wanted to be part of a group. I was never given rule books or anything like that. They just took my money. I purchased a shirt, and I made attempts to be part of the group and contribute, but I was just told you're no longer a member over a tweet that wasn't even directed at me, and and that was the end of that. I personally didn't took offense to it. I said to myself, well, when you become a member of an organization, you have to go by their bylaws. You are a representative of the organization, and they feel that you don't embody the uh, the the ethos of, or the culture that they want to present. Again, you are willingly joining this organization, so you have to submit to the authority of the governing body. So I took my licks, and I was gone. um till this day I will say, my overreaction was based on the fact that I was hurt. I didn't feel that nobody went into my rescue or to support me. The supporter groups are sold on the idea of brotherhood, so none of that. And this is not an
Well, let me
attack.
let me ask you this, David.
Yeah, man.
From your experience since that happened, which supporter group has shown you the most brotherhood?
And none of them
Official,
actually.
official or unofficial?
No, they
Okay.
both groups
I was
see
trying to
me
set,
as a
I was
problem.
trying to set
Yeah,
you
I
up
know.
for
Criticize.
something.
Both groups see me as a problem because I criticize, because I didn't bow down to them. I always said things like, which in retrospect are ridiculous, like, "Oh, I'm smarter than you. I'm better looking than you." Things like that.
David, I feel like
That I
this
used
bit
to get
though.
a rage bait or reaction. But I have to say, um, with all honesty, that I have come to the conclusion that the supporter group is not my thing, and it doesn't mean that it's bad or that nobody should try it. I just think that it's a culture and wavelength that that is not my thing. Some people like to drink beers and drink wine and jump off of airplanes. To me, it's not. I don't like that. So perhaps that's the situation. But to go back to, not to deviate from the reason why we're talking about this, is because the STM, as Luke has mentioned, in every club in the world, has a voice at the table, because uh, anywhere outside of MLS, those are the guys that fund the club. You need money, you need liquidity in order to go sign players, in order to build the stadium, in order to take care of the grass, and that comes from the people that fund. the club, and that's the season ticket member or season ticket holder, however you want to call it. And unfortunately, like Luke has said, it's very difficult for somebody that is a West Club season ticket holder that is paying for 5 grand for their seat to be told that the guy that is paying $25 to be a member of a supporter group has more input and influence over decisions made by the club towards the fans than they have, and they are paying
That's
more money.
basically it, though,
I'll,
isn't it?
I'll finish with this because you guys were members of supporter groups longer, so you know more than I do. One of the main things is I don't know if you guys seen the wall has been getting quieter and quieter over the years because more people are walking away from the supporter groups from chanting on the wall, and musically, we have downgraded with the wall as well because there has been a lot of infighting between the two supporter groups of how to do things, and that takes away from the game day experience. That takes away from what the club should be, which is a place where we all leave our uh, differences at the door and we just concentrate on supporting Orlando City. And our goal is to win games. I personally think that one of the problems that we have is that we have allowed politics and social justice warriors to infiltrate what should be strictly a sporting competition, and then all of a sudden, if you are in the fan base, you have to look and think a certain way. And I'll give you guys this example. And again, I don't want to monopolize the microphone. For example, when years ago the club put an announcement celebrating the legalization of gay marriage, I thought, you're taking a stance on a conflicting and divisive subject. Um, I don't know. I just don't think that our club should do that. Yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Okay, we're all entitled to one. Um, so people call me homophobe and blah 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 and this and that and the other, and this is where the animosity from many members of the supporter groups comes from, because I'm a Israel supporter, I'm a politically conservative person, and I also have I have my views. I don't use my views as this is how a supporter for Orlando City should be. I don't do that. um, but then when our Jewish ownership posted support for Israel, the same people that celebrated the first thing now had a problem with the club. They're like, "Oh, why are you doing that? That's goes against my beliefs. This, that, and the other." We can't, as a club, pick and choose our support. That's why I believe that the club should be neutral. It's a football club, for a love of God. We shouldn't be making any statements of any on anything because of that reason. You cannot make people angry. You got alienate people. And again, I feel that unfortunately, the supporter groups are basically they lean left, and if you do not feel the way they feel, then you don't have a place. That's how I see it. And it shouldn't be that way. I would love for a supporter group member to come on the show and debate us or tell us that we're wrong. But when comes out, when this recording comes out, I guarantee you that we're gonna be attacked on social media like they always do, and people are going to once again go to the club trying to ban people. I'm a paying customer, okay, and I haven't violated any laws and any rules from the MLS. You are not going to collect signatures to ban me. Stupid. They are
David,
very
here's the
smart.
thing, David,
Sorry.
is
Go ahead.
you do one, you have to do the other on either side, whether you're conservative, liberal, indifferent. You know, if you wish somebody Merry Christmas, you have to wish them, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, all of that above. And it's tough with our sport. We can't sit here and say, oh well, the rest of the world does this, the rest of the world does that, and then try to say keep politics out of it when the sport especially in the supporter groups or the ultras or whatever you want to call them, is the most political sport in the world. So it's, to get back to the main state of the thing is it's, that is something that the front office does try to do to be on the same page as with the supporters, is include everybody, that everybody on both sides of the aisle wants to complain about, and then when it comes down to it, people want to pick and choose on both sides. And it but the crux of the issue is we have the Society 21, the original season ticket holders, that's kind of started this issue on social media, where they some of the names weren't included. I guess a lot of the names weren't included, because I did realize that I kept seeing the same names over and over and over and over and over again on the board. Just I felt like every time I looked, it was the same, several names scrolling across the board. And that's what started the issue. And it's just basically gotten to the point where, I think Jared Dillon is very good at what he does as far as making the club money and stuff like that. The issue I still have, and the issue I had when he was hired, is this is a man that never had experience in our sport, because our sport's a completely different animal than every other sport. As a whole, as a whole, no matter what level you're at, what country you're in, it's different. And it's one of those things that I still don't think he quite grasps. And I'm going to be harsh and say this right now, that I feel like, he gives you a smile and a wave, and then behind closed doors, really is just going to do what's best for the club to make the bottom line look better. He can tell us, oh, we see those reviews after the matches, that the surveys they send out, but they don't send it. And Luke and I could have a whole 6-hour show on what we would change about the supporter groups when it comes down
I
to it.
actually wouldn't. I actually wouldn't have a 6-hour
I guess,
conversation.
yeah, you're right. It would be about a 10-15 minute show, because what we think is very simple and very, very streamlined.
Because the reality is, John, you can't change them. There is no way.
Yeah.
There is no way to change them. They have, again, please request, if you are a member of the Ruckus, or specifically the Ruckus, if you're a member, ask for the bylaws of the Ruckus. I am going to repeat that and repeat that and repeat that until somebody just says, you know what, I'm going to go look at them, because it is baffling, right? And this is what I'm going to say about him. Okay. The fact is, right, we can have this conversation, but it's never going to change, because the club, the image and the propaganda and the control the supporters groups have, they're not groups of the club. They're not created by the club. They're created by ordinary, average fans who probably, if I am correctly, I know there's some that's still there, who aren't still attending games, and if they are, they're about, they're there, but they're not in control. Like, they're just ordinary fans like us. No, and I said this in a podcast before. No supporter is, I am no better than a supporter that sits in the West Club. I am no better than a supporter who sits in the cheapest seat in the house, even though I think the supporters
The supporters
is,
section
is the cheapest seat in the house, which I do say. I am no better than um, anyone, right? If you have an opinion, please come on here and give us your opinion. I want I want people to have a voice, because that person who doesn't have a voice needs to be heard. And
we don't even have to put, if you want to remain faceless, and
exactly.
we can not show your face. You don't have to put your name on,
No,
and
you can just
voice
be.
mods are very easy to get for your
And
computer or
apparently,
your phone.
like I am right now, but apparently I'm not. It says I'm offline for some reason. I'm not, but I'm here. But again, I am just welcoming people to hear their perspective and hear what they think and their perspectives. And we might agree with you and we might disagree with you. And that's the best thing about it, is that it's just giving people a platform to do so. Because there was times when me and John and David were in a supporters group where we didn't have that platform. We didn't have um that that voice or that opinion to simply just state what we want to feel or how we feel about a supporters group or about how fans or about like what goes on around it, because simplistically as it is, it's not ran for the supporters, it's ran for agendas, people's personal modern day. I don't want to bring politics into it. I am a political science major, everyone. I just want to say that at the moment. So what I say might be wrong or might be right, but you can debate it whether or not. It is ran like modern day politics. People have their own agendas and they use their own agendas to push their own narrative, or it's not about a group, or it's not about the betterment of people in a group. It's about people pushing their own agendas, and that is what it's simply about.
And
Yeah.
he's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, he's saying politically or otherwise agendas. He's not necessarily labeling, like nailing down that it's a political agenda that these
No,
are.
no, 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 no. I'm just saying agendas in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for me. Thank you, John, for that, because it's about agendas in general. It doesn't have to be political. It doesn't have to be anything like that. But it's about agendas in general. It's about, well, this is my narrative. And I'm not just using podcasts, for example, or whatever, but it's like some people can be like, oh, I'm going to run for this leadership so I can promote my subreddit. Or I'm gonna go and like that's the only reason, so I can have a platform so I can promote my subreddit and blah blah blah. So it goes away from the actual narrative about what it's about, which is the betterment of supporting Orlando City. That is why everyone is there. That is why, and the supporters groups unfortunately are not about that. They're not about that. They're about something. They're about something else apart from that. And when it comes to the that idea, that is where you lose people, and that is where people need to become aware about what is going on. So
Sorry, David. I just texted Luke an inside joke. I'll explain it to you later. um, yeah, I mean, we could beat the dead horse. At the end of the day, we just want this club to be the best it can be on the pitch and off the pitch. In the stands, in the communities, all of that. Yeah, it's and that's where this comes from. We don't wish harm to the groups of the Ruckus or the ILF. We don't wish harm to, harm meaning, they dissolve or membership fades or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, this club wouldn't be in the MLS if it wasn't for those groups.
no,
I just really, my personal opinion is I feel like those groups have, gotten kind of straight away from what they originally were supposed to be.
Right,
And
I will say that, John,
that's
that
the issue.
they have lost their north. In fact, if you read the book by Simon Vines, "Defy Expectations," the Orlando City and Phil Rollins' story, great book, by the way. I have a copy, and I always recommend it when it comes to this. There will be no Orlando City without Ruckus and ILF, but primarily Ruckus because they were originally, I believe, a group of people that just got together to watch football. It wasn't, there was no team to follow really. So, yeah, those were those were the people that kept the club alive in 2011, 2012, especially in 2012 when the club almost died. So, without them, there will be no Orlando City.
Did you
And
know, David,
hopefully,
real
was that?
quick? Did you know that Luke and I met Phil?
Oh yeah,
I,
yeah. I mean,
I
who
don't
did?
remember if I told you. No, no, no. I mean, this was just a couple years ago.
yeah,
Oh,
I've met Phil on many occasions.
Yeah,
oh
but I
yeah,
met
same
him
here.
for the first time a couple of years ago because we were walking, leaving the match, and Luke saw him.
I'm like, that's Phil. I mean, he looks a
And
lot different from the last time I saw him, but I
yeah,
said, that's Phil.
Oh, wait a minute. This is a couple of years, you say?
yeah,
Yeah, he was
Oh,
just a,
wow.
he was
he
just
was
a
he was he was there with his son.
Okay. With John?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
met
Well,
John face to face for the first time, and I said, "Would you mind introducing me to your father?"
oh, I understand. Great.
So,
You
but
know,
Luke stopped first and said hi to Phil, and then I talked with John a little bit because I didn't recognize him at first because
yeah,
I'd never seen John in person, and officially
yeah.
introduced myself, and then
Regardless of the personal issues that he had, I always remember him fondly. It was the first time that I was following a team where, quote unquote, right, I knew the owner, and I bought I bought into the whole thing of like, oh, we're gonna go to MLS. I really enjoy that season of our existence. Yeah, but when you progress to bigger and better things, you lose that campy small club mentality, and it's a good thing because football is about growth, right? Um, but I want to say this, and obviously the people that are going to go after us, if you will, are not going to listen to this because they tune out 10 minutes into the show.
They're not going to go after us, mate. Because yeah, again, if you have a differential opinion, please come on and we will talk. But
Yeah, well,
don't
my experience has always been, go on social media and
just
make
peaceful dialogue.
that person. Personally, like I said, I will never be a member of those groups. Definitely not a member of the ILF. I've been banned, lifetime ban. Um,
welcome to the club.
Same.
I hear you.
We're here.
Sure.
I thought ours was indefinite,
Ma-
which means
uh,
it could be.
Mine is
which
permanent.
means infinite.
Well, it
If it
means
were
until
for the
they choose
president,
otherwise. But
it's
if his
easy
is
that we would
lifetime, if
be
his
out of.
is lifetime, that means it won't get reversed.
I
So
don't think mine will ever get
Yeah, I
reversed.
know.
yeah. So but anyhow, the point about this is that um I think we all agree that we would love to see the club giving the STM a place at the table, and like Luke said, if we could create a sort of an organization that does not respond to a particular supporter group, but that speaks about a place for the fan to sort of like, okay, these are my concerns, these are my grievances, this is what I would like for the club to do, because the club belongs to us. And I understand it's a franchise, it's a single entity, and the club is being run like this was the NFL or the NBA, and perhaps we'll never have that in this country. Um, but at the end of the day, I just think that there's a lot of people that feel disenfranchised by not, quote unquote, getting their voice heard. And if they try to make attempts to create their own niche, their own little group, they are ridiculed and destroyed, and that never gets to flourish. And I know you guys with TCC are trying to fight from the trenches, commendable. And, I have to say publicly, TCC made me feel welcome. Again, I have commitments on a Saturday. I go to synagogue, and I participate in the liturgy. I do a lot of things that prevent me from showing up at noon, if you will, and tailgate till the game. So I basically arrive usually 30, 15 minutes before the game starts. So that's why I was saying that, it's not my scene, is because I just can't do, you know what I mean, what a member will do. But thank you to TCC for being kind to me. I know there's some people that that see me with suspicion, because again, I for my part, there's things that I said, and the way that I handled things I could have done better. At the end of the day, we're all supporters of Orlando City. We love the club, and we want the club to succeed. And if I have offended you and hurt you, my apologies, my sincere apologies. I think it's time for us to mend fences, and life's just too short to be fighting about nonsense. So that's that. If anything, that's the message. Hopefully, somebody will hear that. But I like I said, I think it's time for the club to perhaps address that. Will it happen? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it starts. The whole thing starts with, and not to open this can of worms, but just kind of the resemblance of how the club values its season ticket members starts with the annual gift that they give. And there's some people out there, oh, they don't have to do that. No, but the precedent was set long ago that that's to be expected. And, I will say last year they did have a couple more events for the season ticket members. So it does appear that they're trying and they are listening, to people's gripes a little bit, but I just feel like that they're still that gap between what the front office thinks and what the season ticket members want. Obviously, it'll never be perfect. You can't meet everybody's wants,
We
but
have
that,
perfection, John.
that gap can be, bridged a little bit better.
Of
The
course, like the
2019
rotating
gift.
lion statue that everyone wants, which I don't get. Like, what's all that about? I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Anyways, move on.
No, no, it's all good. The 2019 gift was perfection. It's in my opinion, a collector's item.
Was
Uh,
that the one where it was like in a purple box?
no, it was a tin can that had images of the stadium and fans stamped into it. And the scarf had when we signed Kaká, when we won the USL. It was like, different things like
I
that.
don't remember
And
that one.
it,
Yeah.
2019, because 2020 was the purple box that you're talking about.
Yeah, I
It was-
really liked that one. Like that one was quite official and quite nice. I don't
Yeah,
know
I was
when
like,
it
but the
changed.
2019 brother is, and unfortunately, I have it at my house. I'm in my mother-in-law's house. So I will show it to you guys. It's just pure perfection, and true. The club doesn't have to do anything for you, but
It
my
would be
my,
nice.
my English club Stevenage a few years back, the gift was a shirt, a jersey that was only for the season ticket members, and he had all the names of the season ticket members stamped on it, like the
Well, I'm going to be honest, mate. If we were there's probably about two names on that list for Stevenage.
No, brother, it was quite more than that.
I'm going
Quite
to be
more than
honest. I'm
that.
going to be honest.
But come on now. But I thought it was pretty nice. And through this channel, I wanna thank my friend uh, Kevin Reese, who is the guy that I introduced me to Stevenage. Uh, he's also Orlando City UK member, and he took it upon himself to sacrifice, if you will, his own jersey, drove to the stadium, got it signed at the training grounds, got it signed by all the players, and gifted it to me. So, Kevin, if you're listening to this, thank you very much. It's incredible gift that I still have. But like when it comes to MLS, other clubs do very nice things for their fan base, and I think that after that 2020 season, well, I will say, like Luke said, we had the cardboard box case.
Yeah, which was
We
really
went to
nice.
that little bag that looked like somebody just went to Dollar General and just
Yeah,
put
like
a
a gift shop.
and I was like, okay, well, they're selling the club. Probably they just wanted to get rid of it. And we descended into the Wilf era, where they just give you a purple bag that looks like the type of stuff that you get when you buy something at the team store,
Like a grocery.
and they just throw a scarf and a patch.
The team store that's on Timu.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I
and I've
gotta be
seen
honest.
better stuff on there.
Oh,
And to back up a little bit, the reason why Luke said that about the shirt with David is Luke goes for one club in League One, and as all those that listen to the show know, David's a Stevenage fan. So when those two get together in person or before the shows, you should hear them go after each other.
I'm
but
sorry, I had to do it.
no, for
It
sure. But
was so easy.
Luke knows that because our fandom for League One teams or League Two, depending if we get relegated or not.
I'm waiting for it. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
there's a shot. For
We
those that don't know, that was a shot at Luke.
yeah,
Oh,
we
thanks.
I know.
Cheers, mate.
We judge MLS and Orlando City harsher. Am I right? Look, am I right about that, Luke? That we judge Orlando City and MLS harsher because of the background that we have.
Honestly, from a third part, from being friends with Luke, I'd say it's about the same
It's about the same.
because he was born there. You got to remember he was
Oh no,
born
no,
there.
for sure. I mean, you have one leg over me on that because I
Yeah,
mean
so
that's
he was born there, so it's. But I would say it's about the same.
Yeah. I just think that when it comes to when Orlando loses, it ruins my day. When Blackpool loses, it ruins my week. That's the best way to say it.
Well,
I'll get
at
over
the
it
end of
in
the
a day.
season, at the end of the season, they were both losing on the same day quite a bit.
Yeah, and there seemed like a common trend that Blackpool and Orlando never win on the same day or never win on the same weekend. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's tough, but it's just different. And unfortunately, I support no winning teams, no winning teams.
that makes you
But
a football fan.
so when we say like the outro, it's like when you cry or smile. Or sorry, I need to remember that.
If you haven't cried for joy
Yeah,
or anger,
most of the time is crying for me. Uh,
oh, come on,
For anger, crying for
But
anger.
yeah,
anger as well. But there's no happiness in my football life. I'm
no,
sorry,
I hear you, brother. I
but
hear you. But to move on to the game. Excuse me. This is what happens when you've been talking for over two
I'll go
hours.
ahead and take it, David. Get a drink.
Go ahead.
So yeah, we'll move on to break down a little bit of the match on Saturday. Some stuff we didn't get to in the show. One thing I specifically didn't get into in the show was because Luke wasn't on there to make fun of me about it. That I was throwing a fit not even 40 seconds into the match.
you threw a fit before me. I was like, wait,
It
this
was
is normally my job.
no, 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 no. You threw a fit before me because they weren't kicking towards the wall
I
in
know
the
that.
second
Oh,
half.
no.
But
We haven't heard Luke's reaction about the game.
yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, Luke.
it was lackluster. It was embarrassing. Lackluster, embarrassing. I could go on about the game. It was disappointing. I don't know what they do preseason for, apart from getting fit. And even as footballers, you should be fit to play. Whatever you're a professional athlete, you do it for a living, and you get paid a million a year. Like, let's just be honest, you should be fit. We look the same. We look the same that we did last season. We look the same that we did the season before. And unfortunately, we got absolutely torn apart, ripped to shreds, and we looked even worse. I don't know how tactically you can look worse than we did last season, but we managed to even do it. We had Angulo playing at, if I'm correct in saying this, right wing back, which was insane to say. What is an attacker, a forward, not even a good attacker, playing at right wing back for? It was, unfortunately, I feel like the growing pains with that Iago. He looked a bit flat, stale. He looked like unfortunately a Rafael Santos at centre back. Um, Marin, lackluster again, flat, boring, nothing. I'd rather have Ruan. He's more exciting to me than whatever we have now. Midfield
Well,
looked all over.
Brekalo did look okay.
Breklo again
They
looked
won
all right.
the second goal, but that's when you're the only bright spot and everybody else around you's floundering.
Exactly.
It's gonna
And
happen.
again, Brekalo does show bright spots, which you can, but he is just playing around. When the players around you are playing awful, then it's hard. It's hard to succeed. It's hard to, unless you're top class, which unfortunately, I love Brekalo more than the next person. He's not world class. He's not. If he was, he'd be there. The midfield, I don't know. You know that what again? Tiago. He looks a bit light. He looks a bit. You know, he doesn't look like he's ready yet for
Yeah,
any.
that almost looked like, to kind of expand on what you were saying, it almost looked like Poppy's hoping he's going to be Enrique 2.0,
Yeah,
and he didn't look at Saturday. He had trouble with the physicality, the center backs,
he
and
got pushed.
yeah, positioning his body to hold them off and such.
I think if he is going to try to succeed, he needs to be quicker. I think he needs to be more sharper. I think he needs to get with the pace of the game. I feel like it's a lot more differently. I feel like he's came from a league where it's more skill orientated, probably a bit slower, but not as fast. The MLS is quick. The MLS is a quick pace game. Uh, that's why these old guys are kicking the bucket and leaving because it's becoming so fast paced that they can't even keep up. Um, that
And
Iago just
don't
looked.
forget about the physicality. I mean,
Yeah, the
that's been
physicality
a
of the
thing
league's
for
another thing.
years.
Like you're playing against two big centre backs up top. Maguire is gonna. I saw some of those chances that Spicer put on a clinic. Again, he's playing like he's paying like his rent is due. And Spicer put three or four at least balls into the box, and nobody got on the end of them. I keep on mixing it.
Tiago.
Yeah, Tiago is was nowhere near. He was as a striker who has the calibre, came from Brazil and whatever, should have the flair. He should be there. I feel like he should absolutely be there to score those. Maguire, who was on the bench, would have had a hat trick by I don't know by 60 minutes.
20th minute for sure, because I feel like Spicer was feeding him in there the whole time. And the one thing about Tiago that I kept saying on Saturday is in Brazil he mainly played a left winger
Yeah,
position. He played striker, like, if they needed it. He mainly played a winger. Um, the but yeah, I mean, I agree. Duncan would have been. That's the thing with Duncan is he makes those runs and always seems to be in the right position.
yeah,
If you guys recall when he first came up and first started scoring goals, it was like, well, was he there because he was in position or did he just get lucky? And we eventually learn it's because he's just that he naturally has that knack that subconsciousness about him to know where the ball should go, that anticipation. And that's why it led to what was supposed to be a league to move to the championship, but we all know how that went down. I really feel like that um, yeah, everything Luke said's right. The one thing I really wanted to touch on was our midfield and how much of a disaster our midfield was more than anything. Because to me, if you don't have a solid midfield, it showed late last year, and it kind of it showed a little bit in the friendly on Saturday, where our midfield was just not there like they should have been. It looked like Atuesta didn't really know what position he was supposed to be playing. And then the same with Brian Ojeda. Cartagena, I thought was okay. He's still getting the rust knocked off for having a complete year off. A lot of the stuff was the same with Cartagena. He got stuck in several times and had his altercations, and that altercation and at the half was we learned because of him. But I was hoping for more out of Brian Ojeda. Didn't really see it. Um, and it seemed like we were just trying to beat them with the long ball the whole time, to one of the wings. And unfortunately, especially with Angulo as an overlapping fullback, isn't going to work because we saw the one cross he did was over everybody and went into touch, you know, as quick as the ball came down.
Unfortunately, right? No shot, David. I'm about to fire back at you for a minute on your team. When we played
Right.
Stevenage 2 or 3 seasons ago, and I don't know if it was Evans. I think it was Evans. The old
Yeah, Steve Evans.
Yeah, it was. We were playing like that. We were playing like Stevenage, where they just knocked the ball up 60 yards to like a striker and played long balls and long balls and long balls. But the problem is Stevenage played that and it worked. We tried to play that and it didn't work. We tried to play the long ball, but we've got a 5'2", 5'3" striker up there, and he's not understanding the league yet. He's not hacked the league. Now he might understand the league eventually. Duncan understands the league. Maguire understands the league. I feel like if you could play a long ball to Maguire, you could do wonders.
Right, but the problem with that, Luke, is that you have a fan base that has been here all along, thirsty and hungry for success, and I just don't think that the people have the patience and the energy to wait. You know what I mean? I don't understand what you're saying. In the English game, if things don't work out, come January, you make changes. You can fire
Okay.
4, 5, 6 managers in a season if you have to. You go out into the market. Which, by the way, when MLS goes into the international calendar, a lot of our issues will be resolved, to be honest, when it comes to the transfer market. But um, when you have that dynamic where each club is on their own to try to figure things out, but it's great. But here in MLS, we have a structure, we have contracts, we have rules that prevent us from sort of like build the airplane on mid-flight, um and um and to talk about, I remember that game in specific that you're referring to, when you have a manager that has a style that works. It doesn't matter if you don't think is the best tactic, it's gonna work every single time. What's Oscar's style? Well, we have seen when he got here the Papi Special, right? And I even told him to his face, I say, hey, we have a name, Papi Special. Score a goal, bunker down. That doesn't make for attractive, exciting football. And when you are leading by a goal, what happens? They can tie it, or they can score 2 goals and beat you. And that has happened several times to Orlando City throughout the years under Oscar's tenure. We sort of signed players that were exciting, that score multiple goals, and then all of a sudden we become a successful club that is fun to watch. I for one see football for what it is, entertainment, and I pay for my money for the experience. I love being around the people. I love being under the floodlights, the announcers, and the pageantry, the putting my the putting my colors on and all that. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to go to see a team that basically is going to be belly up from the word go, um, is it wise to spend my time, my money, on something that is going to be fruitless, sterile pursuit of greatness? And to go back to what Luke was saying, I think we are at a point where we've been in NMLS 11 years, and we have seen managers come and go. We have seen over 100 players wear our colors, some great, some not so great. But the one thing that you can't ignore is the fact that the fan base, at least in the USL, was grew on success and on winning, and that kernel, that root of this club remains there. And we have not seen success to that level since 2014. And The other thing is we don't have a face in the club. We don't have a nanny. We don't have a caca that will grab us by the collar and say, "Come here, you SOB. I'm gonna drag you to greatness, and you're gonna like it." And that's the problem, I think, too, that we don't have players that feel that this is not a project or this is just a check or a retirement plan. We don't have people that want to be like that. There's players that win, that play to win, certainly, but I keep you saying Nani because it's the player that any casual or diehard fan is always gonna bring up every time you're talking about what's the player that you remember the most. Nani was a captain,
If
and
Nani,
unfortunately, I don't think that we have that right now, especially with Robin Johnson out. I believe the ban was given to uh, uh,
It was going to be Cartagena,
yeah,
Cartagena, Ojeda, and Atuesta.
right.
I
So
always said this, David. I always said if Nani played in this team, he would do
1,000%.
absolute wonders. And I always bring back, and it's a what if, and I always want to know this what if. This would be something I would love to explore. This what if. If I had one wish, it would be this. If this ownership never told Nani they weren't renewing his contract after the MLS All Star game, where would we be today? Probably with a trophy, or probably with two or three, because Nani was that good. Nani was that good for us. Look what he did: 10 goals, 12 assists inside a season, double figure goals as an assist in a season. You know, Torres was great, yeah, but Nani was just
Nani had that extra.
he was class.
Yeah.
He was a part of a Man United team that was the greatest Man United team possibly since I was born.
and a Portuguese national team
Yeah,
that
yeah,
made
yeah.
a lot of
He
noise.
was surrounded by Ronaldo and greats of the game. Nani was a great, and he will always give it your all. He will, you know, he is the guy that would die for this team until you disrespect him. And unfortunately, that ownership disrespected him by saying, "You've done enough, so we're just going to pass you aside and we're going to do our own
Hmm.
thing now."
Well, because see, that's a thing that you do in the NFL or Major League Baseball is you have a player that's coming up on the end of end of their contract, and you tell them we're not going to renew you, and that's like in those sports something that you're supposed to do. And we obviously don't know how the conversations went behind closed doors, but it definitely seemed like that summer that last summer Nani was here that in 21 that you know definitely a switch was flipped that he no longer had the
The
heart that he
desire.
had, and he still showed it when he went to Turkey after us, and then I believe
He
he
went
went
to
to.
Italy, then
Well, I know he was at
Italy,
Turkey at some
Australia, and
point.
then Turkey.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
whatever it was, the clubs he went to after us, he showed it because I follow him on social media. I followed him on social media
That's still do, yeah.
since since he got X. So I saw his highlights and I saw the passion he had, and it was still there. You even still saw it in the soccer tournament. That's literally what it's called, the 5v5 that they do
Hmm.
up in the Carolinas. You still saw it when he competed in that. He still had that fight about him, and that's something that
Oh yeah, I remember him yelling at Sasha.
yeah, and that's something that never goes away. And we hopefully this summer we can find somebody that's like that, that can come and really put it into gear for this team. To end the year. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're winning the cup or making the playoffs, even or even making the playoffs. Because as I've said, I think there's a very good chance that we're so far out of it by the summer that it'll virtually be an impossibility for us to get in.
just write it off.
But get the guys that we have under contract into gear for the the 27 short season and then the full season of 27 and 28. Get them in gear for that and really see where this club can go in that first full season with the transfer markets lining up and everything. And I I really rebuilds have to happen. Reloads have to happen, whatever you want to call it.
Right, correct.
And the fact that the front office and the manager seem to be on a separate page about where we're at. And you said it, I believe, in the main show, David, about you're going to start seeing blame being put here or there. The blame, or that's already happened. That happened in Poppy's first press conference. He already started blaming the front office for not giving him players. So Poppy, whether you're like me and Luke and you don't like his style of play, or you do like his style of play, he still knows what he's talking about. He knows whether he has a team that can compete and a team that can't. And when you're sitting there throwing blame, saying you don't have the quality of player you need from the get-go after the first training session, kind of gives you the hint that it's going to be a really rough, really long.
Ray's at 5 squads. 5 squads with us, probably. I would say 5 or 6 squads.
With what do you mean?
With Orlando.
No,
Like,
I would say the one with Nani was his first one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say
no, but I'm saying. Well, Nani was with Jason Christ, wasn't it? Or,
Yeah, no, Nanny was here 19, 20, and 21. So that means that
he was
he
here.
was
for
he
the
was one of
season.
his players.
Oscar had Nani and the incredible, legendary, beloved Dom Dwyer
Oh.
in staff. So he had two prolific goal scorers.
And
No, but-
don't forget he had Pato too.
So hold on, I might need to define this for you. When I mean his squad, I mean his players. So those were players that were carried over
Right.
from another manager.
2022 is the squad that
Yeah,
you can say was his.
So Pereira never signed Nani. Pereira never signed Dwyer. Pereira never signed, I'm saying he's probably had now 4 or 5 squads where these are his players, And once you have your players, you can't have the excuse of, well, these aren't my players. I can't play my style of play without my players and blah, blah, blah. These are your players inside your budget that you play for and what style of play that you choose.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to the off season. The off season when we were not renewing players and letting players go. Poppy wanted to keep Schlegel, and Poppy wanted to keep Kyle Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He got to keep Angulo somehow. But those two players are players that he wanted to be on the team that
he trusts.
Yeah, that he trusts. And I mean, Kyle Smith, it was his time. He's very close to retirement. He did it. He's got his 1+1 in Cincinnati. That's kind of his, every player dreams of going back to their hometown and playing for the club in their hometown. You can't blame him for signing for Cincinnati. It's a dream come true for him, I'm sure. Because when he started playing professional soccer, there wasn't a professional team at all in Cincinnati.
Correct.
There was an indoor team, but there wasn't a, first division professional team. So he gets to go back, be with his family, be around familiar surroundings, living the athlete's dream, basically. But I really think that, if we hadn't gotten rid of those two players, Poppy's sentiment might be a little bit different, especially what not Smith, the center back. Why can't
Schlegel.
Schlegel, thank you. You know what Schlegel meant to him, as a player. I'm sure he saw Schlegel as an adopted son. And that's not to be negative about Schlegel, even though, we all had our critiques of Schlegel. He gave our club our first playoff win. Was a big part of that with stepping in.
A football historical moment, not just club.
Nutcase. Let's just be honest. He was an absolute nutcase. But wow, like I tell you what, he was. There's one thing you can't say about Schlegel. He was not boring.
No,
He was never boring.
No, that's true.
you
Yeah,
always
no,
knew. You always could tell when he was going to get that yellow card in the match too.
Oh yeah, I always had my head on my
he was
hand.
there last year
Uh,
for the Pints with Pareja event, and Schlegel, man, put everybody that was there, just folded them and put him in his back pocket. The guy just exudes passion, humble guy, and when you're a football supporter, that's what you want. You want the blue collar hero. Kyle Smith was just that dude too. And I have to say that Kyle Smith leaves a big hole in Orlando City, especially with the fans, because Kyle was known to like go out in the community, hang out with the fans, answer questions, and he was just a guy, man, that always said, "Hey, I just got lucky." I'm a. He always referred to himself as an accountant. He just a CPA. I'm just an office guy that just gets to play football. That and whenever, which I believe, John, this is his last year. Really, he's just swan song, like you said. Go home, get to do it in front of the home crowd, and then quite possibly right into the sunset into an office job, just like many others before him that have retired. That people have to work. I think that
The one thing
we
that did irritate me before you go on, David,
yeah, go ahead.
never got his jersey. He's the only player I ever wanted a jersey of
I
because of
wish I did,
how
man.
intertwined our stories were.
I remember one time because I have one of his signed trade cards. I remember I was in a sea of people going, Kyle, Kyle, and obviously everybody it had like shirts and things, and he looked at the card and he said, "That I will sign." I remember that like it was. I was that I will sign.
Yeah, I
Just
even sent him. I was even so desperate last year when I was pretty sure he was leaving, like mid-season.
mm-hmm.
Sent him a DM on Instagram, which you might as well play the lottery if it's going to be looked at, if he even handles his own Instagram. And sent him a thing, tell him about how I moved down to Orlando from Cincinnati, and
Right.
kind of hoping a dream, kind of like he did, and all of that, and would really like a jersey after a match, and it just never happened.
Well, you never know, brother. There might be opportunities out there.
Hmm.
Since we have a award-winning uh, kid team, perhaps there might be some Kyle Smith jerseys left in the locker room. Who knows?
Hmm.
Which to go on a quick tangent, the club moved away from the idea of putting all the training gear for sale. I thought that was super successful, man, and I can't believe that all that gear ends in the garbage. At the end of the day, it's sad. But I think
I
the
thought they
problem.
recycled that to go to Adidas to be reused into other things.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure
What a
that's
shame.
something that they do.
Well, I went to, I think it was like 20, yeah, it was 2019 when they had the sale, and I actually got to see people drop 2 3 grand on what the club was gonna throw in the garbage. So, food for thought.
I'd be one of those people.
I was there, brother. I was
I
there.
would.
Trust me, spending money that I had no business spending. But I think this is the pro, guys. This and the question to you guys is, to me, we rode the wave with the same guys for such a long time that is very difficult to move forward. Schlegel, say what you will about his gameplay. I got to know him. I got to know the guy. I When we signed him, when I was still doing the Spanish podcast, I interview a beat writer for Racing, and got to talk about that. I remember meeting him for the first time at this event when they opened the training ground, and I got my scarf signed by everybody. I remember looking at Schlegel and saying, "Hey, we dedicated an episode to talk about your career," and he looked at me like I had like three horns. He's like, "I just got here. I don't know you. I don't know anybody." And so people like that. It's Junior Urso. That we had over the years a bunch of players that were which by the way I believe Junior Urso's not playing anymore, and he's living in Orlando. Just throwing it out there. So the thing to me is we had big personalities, very humble people that gave us great moments in the game of football, and they're gonna be missed. But you know what they say: never fall in love with players, because players and managers come and go. The supporter remains. So that's my 2 cents when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, was it you last week, Luke, during the show that said we only have, is it 3 players remaining from the 22 squad?
Yeah, yeah,
I
there's
think
only
it was. And I mean, this time last year we still had like 8, I think.
yeah. So it's
And
looking
you go 2 years ago, it was, I think, basically everybody but Urso, um, and Pereira, the Pereira and Pareja or whatever it is, the two
Pereira.
two midfielders. Um, I think basically we had everybody else, Benji Michelle, but I mean it was basically the whole squad was here except for like 4 or 5 players, which is very unheard of in sports. Period, to have that much continuous players for 3 or 4 seasons. And they're 22, 23, 24. We've basically had the same squad, you know. And then last year it changed up a little bit because we lost a couple players, and then this year with the big change where we don't have many of the players we had even last year, and it's I really hope we do well. I really do. The optimist in me, the fan in me, still thinks
The
it's our,
evidence says otherwise, but
but
I hear you, John.
but the
I
reality
really
Yeah,
want
is
us to
like,
be good, man.
I think I'm
yeah,
right. Janssen, Cartagena, and Angula. Yeah, three. Three.
Angulo was on the squad then.
Yeah, Angula
We
wasn't.
talked about that in
Angulo started that game.
did he? Okay.
Yeah, so there's only three. Janssen, yeah. And well, it was four until like Kyle Smith left as well. So
And 5 when um, Schlegel left.
yeah, and then
6
that
because
dwindled off.
Williams left.
Williams wasn't in the squad.
Yes, he was. He started the Rowdies game, so he was on the Open Cup squad.
Yeah, he wasn't, but he wasn't in the squad for the final.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the squad for the final.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean we'll
A
see.
lot of change.
Yeah,
A lot of change.
a
Change
lot of
happens.
change
Though.
in just
Change
a
is
couple
good,
months.
but change can also be bad. But change is good. Change is change, and I think unfortunately the one change that I don't see on here is the freaking manager. You know, man of the match in that game was Torres, and he ended up playing for Palmeiras. No, now Austin, but
Now he's with Austin.
yeah, now Austin. But
Apparently, we were trying to re-sign him. From what I saw, it was us and
I
Austin.
didn't think he was.
Torres wanted, or no, let me rephrase that. Torres wanted to come back to Orlando, and we just basically said no.
Don't get that.
Where would we have put him? And that would have
He
been,
took a gamble. He was
yeah.
coming back to be a DP. We didn't have the room for him,
We need.
and it is what it is. And as much as I got to know his family and the player and all that, he's a very one dimensional player. He doesn't have a right foot. I think he's very dynamic, very prolific goal scorer, but also very streaky. So I think Austin is his best shot. I know that his agent probably was filling his head with like, "Oh, you can go to Europe, you can go to Europe." Perhaps the weight of the fact that maybe I'm not good enough for that has
Yeah, he was never ever Torres. If I remember correctly, he was never a big time player.
you know he had,
I was going to say the one shot I will never forget from him was in the Open Cup. I was
oh,
watching at home
There
against
was a few
Miami
players.
right after Miami scored in overtime to go up by one. And he comes down, takes two touches to his left, and just, you know,
I
curls
was
it
I
into
was with our friend Cleon from Orlando Lions then, and he was on the south side where he scored at. And I remember, we Miami scored, they win, they go to the wall, they're monkeying around and laughing at our supporters, and God, you need to thank God that there was security there. And I looked at Cleveland and said, "This is the chance for somebody to be a hero." And here comes Facundo Torres and scores that goal and looks up into the stands to his dad and says, "Hey, I love you." It was classic. By the way, you can watch that on YouTube. Um, I have to say, I think players have their moment. um, the club told Facundo, "You could be the man. You could stay here and do whatever you have to do." He had ambitions of going to Europe. He felt that perhaps Brazil was going to be that showcase, but Brazil doesn't care. Especially Palmeiras, they're a powerhouse, and if you're not here to win, there's the door, and that's
There was
exactly what
also
happened.
that. It was also that transition, wasn't it, David? Where the people were getting signed straight from Brazil.
Right, and
Where,
unfortunately, it did not happen for
where
him.
like Estevao and all of those players. I'm trying to think of
His
who.
moment was when the
Fabinho.
after he
Pedro
scored against
got
Arsenal.
straight from a Brazil academy to Madrid.
Right. His
Yeah,
moment was after he scored against Arsenal. I think at that point, that was a moment to go to Europe, and it just did not happen for him, unfortunately. And again, I believe he's gonna be a career MLS man. There's nothing wrong with that. He's gonna make millions. He's gonna raise his family in the United States. Those kids are gonna have American citizenship. So there's a lot of pluses on that, and that's that. I think
I
that
wouldn't write him off just yet. There's always like
He's
the
still, he's what, 25?
he was
yeah.
born in
He turned
2000.
25, so
So he
he's
turned
got
26.
like he's got 10 years
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, for sure.
So I
I'm a
wouldn't
firm
write him
believer.
off just yet.
I'm a firm believer
He
that
needs to take
Schlegel
it.
and Araujo are gonna be back in MLS
Yeah.
before you even know it, because they picked Mexican teams out of necessity because the club let them go. But the money's in MLS, and they know that. They know that.
Actually, Arujo got a pretty big price, and Schlegel got a raise.
Oh yeah, they sure did. But you know, I mean, they get paid in dollars in Mexico, but I don't know. Mexico has relegation. Mexico has a Latin culture of like,
Well, I don't think
lose.
I don't think Tigres is getting relegated anytime soon.
No, no, for sure, for sure.
But
I don't know.
I mean,
I just
and
think
the
that
good thing is, the cool thing is all the memories we have with those guys and with Urso and Kyle Smith and Gillespie,
hmm
all these new guys. We'll hopefully be talking about most of them.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely. We just need to give them the opportunity to showcase themselves. I will never forget Araujo scoring those two goals against Red Bulls on our way to the Open Cup championship,
his
or how
first half goal was his first professional goal.
right, exactly, and how Schlegel saved us from being eliminated by Nashville in the same run that happened when two of my friends from Stevenage were visiting, and they left saying, "Oh my God, you guys got something here that is special." Um, and so yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have so many happy memories with those guys. So now we get to do that with a new crew. So to digress, I want to give these people an opportunity. I just looking back, I just the problem that I saw Saturday is wasn't with the ingredients. was with the cook. Okay, and I think that Oscar has been the common denominator for all these years. And if we may see a win on Saturday, we may, or worse, a nil-nil result, which will be just as bad as a loss. But the game against Miami, I just don't see us getting a win. If Oscar manages to get wins out of those two games, um, God, the sky's the limit, because I just don't see I just don't see it. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Games like that aren't about management. It's about will and fight and grit to win. And players might save you in that time.
Hmm.
And it's
And
about
the thing, like you were saying about Iago, how he looked like, I didn't want to say this, how he looked like Santos playing center back. He's only been here for, I think it's right at a week at once he.
yeah, like a week. That's something I forgot to.
So he was the starting center back in a system that basically had 3 days of training before, 3 full days of training beforehand. Maybe not even 3 full days. It may have only been 2 days of training. He was thrown into a starting role, and I mean, Orlando City supporters aren't Flamengo supporters. Let's be real, but still thrown in front of the supporters at 19 years old. You make your first big move in a country you've never lived in, away from your parents, away from a language that's familiar to you, and you're next to a guy that's from you know one of the coldest countries in the world, in Slovenia, and speaks his Breclu's native tongue you've never even heard anybody speak, and
I
he's sitting
mean,
next to you, and you've had so I'm not too worried about him as I am Angulo potentially being the starting right back. I'll say until I'm blue in the face. Taifi, throw him in the water. Is it maybe a year too early? Yeah, but I think he has the desire. I think he has the wherewithal to succeed throughout the whole season. Maybe he has a rough game, first couple games, but I think his basement is still a lot higher than is almost to Angulo's ceiling, because we saw it. The one time Angulo touched it in the final third, he sent it over everybody's head. And then defensively, our right side was a gaping hole in our defense, even more than the left side. Did Marin have a good game? No, but at the same time he had a center back that he never played against, that or played with, that you never know. And that, I don't know if you saw it, Luke, but that goal, we were talking about it there. The goal was actually the corner goal that Colorado scored. It was actually Iago challenging that, um, not Marin.
Yeah.
So I think Marin will come. I hope Marin will come along. I think he has a chance to, you know, do well. We saw some bright spots from him on Saturday. We'll just see how he does against wingers the wingers in the MLS that have a lot of pace.
Yeah.
Like Luke said, it's a very quick league and it's a very physical league. So, some of these guys that have never really played in it, and that includes Marin. Yeah, he got, a couple months last year, but he didn't really play because Brecalo was in there.
Well, we look at you know who, the unspoken name, Uriel.
Hmm.
Shall not be named.
That just
Um,
had to do with his will to be productive and
he underestimated the league
yeah.
completely. He thought he could go into this league and absolutely just walk in and do what eat a cheeseburger at halftime and probably still score, and he didn't. So he couldn't hack it. People take this league for granted all the time, and look what happens. So
Well, I mean, I even go back to when Schweinsteiger joined. He said this is more physical than the Bundesliga, which is shocking because that's always been known as a physical league.
yeah,
I'm sorry, he said just as physical.
yeah,
He said the biggest difference is the technique that players in the Bundesliga have versus here.
yeah. Quality.
So
Yeah.
and I mean, I love saying this, and you go back and look in seasons past, like look at 19 to 20, and look at the players we had then versus only 6 years later, and the quality of player we have now versus what we had back then. I mean, our starting right winger um, was Mueller, and we didn't even really have a starting left winger at that time. You remember 21, the whole most of 21 until Angulo came along, or was it 22? Whatever year it was, we were looking for a left winger. We signed I forget his name, McNamara or something like that, the Irishman winger from Atlanta.
Yeah, I remember him. He
I know it
former
was M
Stevenage player, by
Jake
the
something.
way.
Mulroney.
Mulroney.
Mulroney. Yeah. By the
I know it
way,
started with
he's
an M.
playing in the Irish League. The last I heard of him, he came to the United States to do like a tour with that team for their preseason, and I mean he has gone into obscurity. But
David, your mic just went out.
oh, there we go. I had it muted, so of course I probably you didn't hear anything else I had to say. No, but as far as Mulroney, I don't know if you heard this. He's been playing in the Irish League, complete obscurity. Former Stevenage player, by the way. But anyhow, guys, thank you for having me on your project. That is just getting as much traction as the main show. This obviously is going to come out on Wednesday. So before I go, hopefully the first 30 minutes of this episode did not turn off people because I think we went, balls to the wall and really hard.
Yeah.
But we pride ourselves with saying, "Hey, we're just gonna be ourselves. We're gonna talk about things that we think that are important. Uh, Never meant to be an attack on people or organizations or anything like that. We're just discussing the situation of the club. So with that, I leave you guys. Thank you, John. Thank you, Luke, and hopefully we reconvene Monday night to celebrate a win. But
Definitely.
if it doesn't, we'll be there to you know talk about it as well. Thank you, guys.
All right. With that being said, Luke, you got any final words for the show?
Win at all
And
costs.
since you weren't on the main show, how do you, real quickly, how do you think Saturday goes?
Not good.
Best case, worst case.
Worst case, we lose. Best case, we.
We win.
But,
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
best cases we don't. Best cases we don't lose badly.
So you think it's a loss either way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I feel like we're just not set up to win this season. I feel like this is just so bad, and you know, we just gotta hope
Hope and pray.
that's
We'll be
that.
there. Luke and I will be there. Section, what is it, 23?
Yep.
About 6 rows up.
Yep.
And the teams line up before kickoff, and you'll see us.
You'll see me looking at the coin toss, seeing if we're kicking towards the wall in the second half, and I'll probably be losing my.
Definitely. Well, thank you to everybody that listens to us. Like I've said every week so far, this is our fourth episode already. If you have anything you want to add, if you want to join the show, like I said earlier, if you guys want to remain completely anonymous, well, you don't have to put your camera on. Get a voice modifier and change your voice, make it higher, lower, whatever. Let us know what you think about really anything that involves our club, Orlando City B, Orlando Pride, anything like that. Once the Pride season gets kicked up and going a little more, we'll cover them. We'll especially cover them on the main show. And if we have anything to add, we'll add it here. Um, so yeah, we're here for you guys. We're here for the fans. We're here for the supporters to give your honest opinions and be true to yourself without fear of receiving any
Backlash.
negative feedback. We're here to discuss it, whether you agree with us or not. So with that being said, everybody have a good night. Let's be there to support the boys on Saturday, bring in the new year the right way, and let's hope and pray for a win, and be there for them to support them to that win. For David, Luke, all the guys from the main show, everybody have a good night, good week. We'll see you Saturday, and vamos Orlando.